In the heart of London, in the year 2006, a 20-year-old Kurdish woman named Banaz Mahmod disappeared without a trace. But Banaz wasn't just a missing person. Her story would soon expose one of the most horrifying honor killings in British history. Born in Iraq in 1985, Banaz and her family fled Saddam Hussein's regime and sought asylum in the UK when she was just a child. But while the world outside was modern, her home remained deeply traditional. At the age of 17, Banaz was forced into an arranged marriage with a man 10 years older than her. He was abusive, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Banaz complained to her family, but instead of support, she was told to stay silent. For them, divorce was shameful. Honor was everything. Eventually, Banaz left her abusive husband and returned to her parents' home. That decision alone was considered a disgrace in her conservative Kurdish community. But Banaz didn't stop there. She fell in love again, this time with a young Kurdish man named Ramat Suleimani, someone she chose on her own. A relationship based on love, not obligation. That's when her fate was sealed. For her father, uncles, and extended family, Banaz's actions, leaving her husband and dating someone of her choice, meant she had brought shame to the family name. What no one outside her home knew at that time was this: Banaz was already marked for death. Banaz knew her life was in danger, and she tried everything to survive. Between December 2005 and January 2006, she went to the police 5 times. In one visit, she handed them a written list of names, the exact people she believed would kill her. She even said clearly and directly, "If anything happens to me, it's my family." But the officers didn't believe her. Some thought she was exaggerating or seeking attention. One officer even laughed when she described how someone had tried to strangle her with a shoelace inside her home. The system failed her. What made her story even more tragic is that every sign was there: a pattern of abuse, threats, isolation, and fear. Yet no protection was given. Despite the danger, Banaz continued her relationship with Ramat Suleimani. They would often meet secretly, away from the eyes of her controlling family. But her family was watching. One day, her uncle saw Banaz and Ramat together. That moment was enough to trigger a family conspiracy. A secret meeting was held at her uncle's house where her father, uncle, and several men discussed how to restore family honor. The decision was made. Banaz had to die, and worse, no one in her family tried to stop it. On January 24th, 2006, Banaz Mahmod disappeared. Earlier that morning, she had gone to the hospital after an argument with her father. She told medical staff she had been threatened and feared for her life. The hospital released her, and she returned home. That was the last time anyone outside her family saw her alive. Her boyfriend, Ramat Suleimani, became worried when Banaz didn't return his calls. He went to the police to report her missing, but he was met with skepticism. The officers didn't treat her disappearance as urgent, not until it was too late. Days passed, still no sign of Banaz. Behind closed doors, the family told neighbors in the community that Banaz had run away with her boyfriend. But Ramat knew that couldn't be true. Banaz would never disappear without contacting him. It wasn't until April 2006, nearly 3 months later, that police finally made a breakthrough. Using mobile phone records, they traced suspicious movements by a group of men tied to her family. This led them to a house in Birmingham. There, buried 6 feet under a patio in the backyard, wrapped in plastic and stuffed inside a suitcase, they found the decomposed body of Banaz Mahmod. She had been raped, strangled, and murdered. Her killers had watched her die slowly for over 2 hours. Then they disposed of her body like garbage. Banaz had warned the police. She had begged for protection. But the people she feared most, her father, uncle, and cousins, were the ones who took her life. After Banaz's body was discovered in April 2006, the truth behind her murder began to unravel, and it shocked the entire nation. Her father, Banaz Mahmod, and uncle Ari Mahmod were arrested. It was revealed that they had orchestrated the entire murder with the help of other relatives. But the investigation didn't stop with just the family. Three of the main suspects, including the actual killers, had fled to Iraq immediately after the murder. Normally, extradition from Iraq to the UK was almost impossible. But in this rare case, British detectives worked with Kurdish authorities to bring them back. It took years of effort, but in 2009, the suspects were extradited, returned to the UK, and put on trial. During the trial, Banaz's boyfriend, Ramat Suleimani, played a crucial role. He had secretly recorded conversations, provided detailed evidence, and risked his life to bring the killers to justice. Without him, the case may never have been solved. In 2007, her father and uncle were sentenced to life in prison for arranging Banaz's murder. The killers who were extradited from Iraq were later convicted and jailed for life as well. It became one of the first honor-killing cases in the UK where family members were convicted and given maximum punishment. But while justice was served in court, the tragedy left deep scars, not just on Banaz's loved ones, but on the nation. It exposed how cultural silence, family control, and institutional failures can cost an innocent life. Banaz Mahmod's murder was not just the killing of a young woman. It was the murder of freedom, love, and choice in the face of deeply rooted patriarchy and so-called honor. But her story did not disappear into silence. In the years following her death, activists, journalists, and filmmakers began to bring Banaz's case into the public spotlight. Her name became a symbol, not of shame, but of resistance. In 2012, a documentary titled Banaz, A Love Story was released by filmmaker Dia Khan, who worked closely with police officer Caroline Good, the woman who led the investigation. The film won an Emmy Award and brought global attention to honor-based violence. Banaz's case also triggered reforms within the UK police system. Her death exposed how poorly some officers understood honor-based abuse and how crucial it is to believe victims, especially women trapped between cultures. Specialized training, dedicated units, and changes in risk assessment followed, so future cases would not be ignored the way Banaz was. But the deepest tragedy is this: Banaz did everything she could to survive. She asked for help, she named her abusers, and she trusted the system. The system failed her. Today, her legacy lives on in the countless women who find the courage to speak out, and in the commitment of law enforcement and activists who now listen more closely. Banaz Mahmod was not weak. She was brave, she was honest, and even in death, her voice still echoes, reminding the world what happens when we look away.